Survivor, season 45, episode 1. Um, can't believe they've been doing this show for 23 fucking years. But it starts like they all start, with Jeff doing the big preamble and explaining what's going to happen over so many days and so many people, deserted island, and outwit, outplay, outlast. I know it's 45 seasons. If you haven't been living under a rock, you know what this show is about. But that's okay. I get it. You got to do it every year. It's fine. So we go through that, and we get to we meet the groups, and they're all in their color coordinated outfits that they've been told to wear. And Bruce, the guy who, in the very first moment of the very first challenge of last season, cracked his head open and had to be medically evacuated, starts mouthing off about how, yep, he's great for a second chance, doesn't want to be seen as someone with experience. You know, basically saying, I don't want a target on my back, but, fucking it up royally. And there's this woman on the Yellow Tribe just giving him shit and saying, but look, this is what he's saying, but that's exactly what he's doing. And he's already saying that, he doesn't have experience, but he's already telling us things to look out for, blah, blah, blah. And then he tries to defend himself, and she goes right back at him and wouldn't let up. And it was like, Jesus, lady, calm the fuck down. You're so aggressive on the first minute. And, you know, I'm sorry to say she was a little bit right, because Bruce was coming off like, the guy, the person in the friend group was like, oh, I hate drama. And then is the first one to stir up trouble with everyone else around them. Big no-no, Bruce. But we go through the whole, charade of Jeff pretending he doesn't know who these people are, so that, he can introduce them to each other and the viewing public. And, it's not like, pretends like he hasn't been involved in casting and has studied every single thing about these people, and knows all their names already. But, he's like, oh, you guy in the blue hat, what do you think? Like, whatever. I get it. It's all part of the setup of the reality show. Um, and so we do all that, and we go through the first challenge, and Brandon, also on the yellow team, like Yelly McYellerson, lady who was mean at Bruce, her name is Emily, and she's an investment analyst. And so Brandon, and I don't remember what he does, other than fail. He had to swim, row a boat, and climb up a rope ladder. Now, I'm not saying those things are necessarily easy, but he literally, like, could not get himself up the ladder. Like, he at one point said that he passed out in the water. Like, well, you didn't do much, and it's like the first hour, or maybe it's been 5 hours. I don't know. And I don't know, how long did he have before he got there? Was he jet lagged? I don't know what his travel itinerary was, or maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened, but it's day one. You should not be that depleted at that point in the game. And then that was just, he was just useless the rest of the time. So that's highly disappointing. And it's like, aren't there physical tests you have to take to get on this program? Like, shouldn't you be able to, run and jump for 10 minutes? Like, I don't know I don't know. So, so then we get more of, and I love Survivor editing. It's just, they make Bruce out to be a giant hypocrite about, I don't want to be in charge, I don't want to look like I know anything, but then couldn't help himself and, like, telling people what to do and being like, hey, a little helpful piece of advice. It's like, okay, you are fucking yourself over, Bruce. But really, the rest of the story of the episode is about the white people on the yellow team. They're awful. They are the absolute worst. Two black people from the yellow team go to do the challenge where they're supposed to do something sweaty and smarty, and they have to carry a bunch of shit and then do a puzzle. And uh, so Emily, the bitch in the yellow team, is like, if they don't come back with something, then they clearly have something to hide. No, that is a problem. They've got an advantage. And of course, they didn't finish the challenge, but neither of the two groups finished that challenge, and they come back with nothing. And nobody believes them. And Emily's like, "Oh, we got to separate them. They're too much of a team." Oh, for fuck's sake, lady. Um, and I love that they called her out over and over again about, she's the one who's always going to tell you why something doesn't work, but will never find a solution to the problem, never offer a solution to the problem. And lady, that's what all of life is. It is trying to figure out how to overcome whatever's in the way. Like, that's what we do in life. That's what we do at work. That's how you have to actually function. Like, okay, something's gone wrong. How do we fix this? How do we recover? How do we make this better? How do we? It's like that. That whole mentality is like, that's never going to work. Well, did you try it? Do you have a better idea? How else are we going to get out of this situation? You have to actually have action to correct the situation. Otherwise, you're just miring in shit and then complaining about the shit that you're miring in, and you're not, without trying to get out of it. That mentality and that kind of personality drives me insane. Oh, so she's annoying as fuck. They all find her annoying as fuck. And of course, uh, she's annoying as fuck. Brandon, like, just has to lay down all the time. He's beat. He's wiped. I can't do it. So, he's crying and napping. And then there's Hannah, the young little blonde, not naturally blonde, white girl who's just like, I just want a cigarette in my own bed. I can't. This is so hard. It's been a day. Like, it's been a day. I don't have a shelter to. Well, then, because you need to build one. I. It's like, it's mind-boggling. So of course the yellow team loses the immunity challenge, and of course they go to tribal council. And usually the first tribal council of the season, either it's absolutely heartbreaking because absolutely nobody deserves to go home and they have to pick someone, or it's very obvious which member of the group should go. And it's usually the one that didn't perform well in the challenge, or uh, it's the first blindside to getting out somebody who's probably really beneficial to the tribe, but they don't want to have to beat them later. But this time, there's three of them. There's three options that are perfectly viable to get rid of. It's a plethora of riches, and also like a, a like a it's not a tragedy, but just an abysmal situation. You've got Emily, who everybody hates. They all want to get rid of her because they hate her energy. Brandon, who can't do anything and is the reason they lost. Well, he's not the reason they lost the challenge. He's the reason they didn't get Flint or whatever in that first thing. And then there's Hannah, who's just like, send me home. I want to go home. This is too hard. I need a bed and my cigarettes. I'm having nicotine withdrawal. You should have probably thought about that a little bit in advance. Maybe stopped smoking a week before you went to the island. But anyway, so their hand is tied. They're sort of forced to let Hannah go home because she says whether or not they send her home, she's going to go home. So why waste a vote getting rid of anybody else who wants to be there, even though you don't want them there or they're terrible at it, when the other girl's just going to leave anyway. So the white people on the yellow team, all awful. Just awful. And I like the other three on the yellow team. I feel really bad for them. I wish they could do like a tribe switch next week so that those people don't have to suffer through the pain of dealing with the remaining two idiot white people in the yellow tribe, because that's just not going to go well for them. And so Hannah just leaves. And I gotta think, like, what a humiliation for the casting department. Um, A, the guy who can't complete the first challenge because he's physically exhausted. Like, where was the screening for that? And Hannah, who's just like, I can't be here. I can't spend a night in the jungle without my bed. Isn't there something on the questionnaire that you have to tick that says, willing to sleep outside in on island? Like, I don't like how utterly embarrassing that they let these people through. So it'll be interesting rest of the season to see how this plays out. But so far, first episode, um, not impressed with the white people. And I gotta say, at least CBS took their diversity note to heart, and they are very um, uh, uh, distinctly diverse casts, not just a token one here and there of of people of different races or sexual orientations, but they could have maybe stepped that up earlier, but at least they're doing it now. That they really do have a nice diverse selection of people, but what a giant miss from casting to put two of them in there that are just pathetic. um and I'm not so sure about this whole every episode's going to be 90 minutes thing for this season. Um, I get it for like the first one, but I don't know that this is going to be that interesting. 90 minutes a week, but I get it. There's no scripted original programming to put on the fall schedule. So you got to fill your time slots. You might as well throw these really popular reality shows an extra half hour and fill the night. But oh boy, it really doesn't bode well for the spring season either. The writers are back at work, but the actors aren't yet. So who knows what can possibly get in production and finished by the time we have spring season. But this is how we go. Let's see how it goes, so they can outwit and outlast each other, or maybe even me for 90 minutes an episode.